Before jumping into today's topic, let's take a look at how good this garden's doing. For starters, our super sweet tomatoes, when we first planted them, were just barely over this first rung. Our last video, they were barely over the second rung. Now, they're starting to peek their head over the entire cage. Not only that, we're seeing some good flowering occurring in all of our tomato plants, not just the super sweets. Our early girls, although they're not growing up, they are starting to grow out a lot, and again, seeing some flowering occurring on those. All the pepper plants are starting to get nice and tall, and we got a couple of little peppers starting to grow in. All of the basil still doing really well. I've even harvested some sweet basil and lime basil this morning. One of our pepper plants, however, is not doing so good, which is a nice segue into today's topic. Let's talk about fertilizer. If you remember, when we took the plants and put them into our raised garden bed, we did a bit of side dressing with some 10-10-10 to help reduce the shock and give them a little bit of a boost once they were in the bed. It's been a few weeks since we did that, and we reached out to our extension office and asked them how often and what kind of fertilizer should we use going forward. Their recommendation was every 3 to 4 weeks, or at least once a month, with a generic 10-10-10. So just like before, we're gonna side dress each plant with some 10-10-10 and then soak it into our bed. I'm gonna use a watering can to water in the fertilizer around the base of the tomato plants because I don't want to risk getting the leaves wet. Again, that's gonna set it up for disease, so I'm just gonna use the watering can. These two pepper plants are the same. This is the one that's already got some pepper sprouting on it, and this is the one that's struggling, not doing so good. I'm gonna give the one that's not doing so good a direct foliar spray fertilizer and see how that helps it. With the one that's already sprouting some peppers, I'm gonna go ahead and sprinkle some 10-10-10 fertilizer around the bottom of it like I did with the other plants. So for this particular foliar fertilizer, it says to shake the bottle well and then spray healthy plants once a week. And then for ailing plants, we have to spray twice a week. So for one that's struggling, we'll spray it today, wait one day, and then spray it again. To get the fertilizer down around each plant with all of the mulch in the way, but all I did was just simply scoop the mulch back from each plant, tried to get the fertilizer at least 6 to 8 inches away from the base of each plant around it, watered all of it in, and then put the mulch back on top. When I go to fertilize again, I'm gonna take the foliar spray and spray it on 2 of the different types of tomato plants that we got. Again, to just see how they react and see how well the liquid foliar fertilizer is gonna do versus the granule fertilizer that we put down. So real quick, let's talk about the different kind of fertilizers that you can use for your garden. Let's first talk about slow release fertilizers. Now these fertilizers will feed for 6 to 12 months with just one application. The downside, they do cost a little bit more than general purpose fertilizers versus quick release fertilizers that cost a lot less and go to work a lot faster than a slow release. A complete fertilizer is going to have all 3 elements present: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. An example of this might be a 16-4-8. An incomplete fertilizer is only going to contain 2 of the major elements. For example, a 15-0-15, which is only going to contain nitrogen and potassium. Then you've got a balanced fertilizer, which again is going to contain all 3 major elements, but it's going to have equal parts of each one of those, like the 10-10-10 we put down. It's got 10 parts nitrogen, 10 parts phosphorus, and 10 parts potassium. As far as which fertilizer you should use for your bed, the best advice that we can give you is reach out to your extension office and get their opinion. We did that, and they said to use just regular 10-10-10 for our particular bed and the plants that we are dealing with. Again, you can do granule or you can do liquid. It all depends on your particular situation. For tomato seedlings and transplants, the Extension Office recommends that you use a fertilizer at half strength. Some people will even go a quarter strength fertilizer. Your tomato seedlings and your transplants, they don't need the full strength fertilizer. The plants are small, and most fertilizers, especially liquid fertilizers, have a ratio of NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium that are just too high for those small seed cells and plants. Now, tomatoes are medium feeders and they're gonna require more fertilizer than the initial starter solution. It's best if you're not using a pre-mixed soil solution like what we got, to do a soil test through your Extension Office to see what kind of fertilizer is best gonna suit your needs. And just to reemphasize, we're going to fertilize every 3 to 4 weeks or once a month. If a liquid soluble fertilizer is used, be careful not to apply too much and too often, as this could lead to excess nitrogen. This is a very common problem that I found out, and if you do that, you put too much nitrogen into the garden bed, you'll get a lot of vegetation growth, but you won't get a whole lot of fruit growth. So there we go. That's all there really is to fertilizing. What's crazy is, since our initial planting, I haven't done anything to this bed. We've had that much rain, it's watered the bed for us. I haven't had to do anything, and the plants are really starting to sprout up. It's gonna be fun to see how well our plants are gonna react to the 10-10-10 fertilizer that we side dress them with. We'll see what happens. They're looking really healthy. I'm seeing some flowering, even seeing some peppers pop off these plants, so everything's looking good. I hope this video was helpful and we answered some questions on fertilizers for you. If you have any other further questions, as always, you can leave them in the comments section below, email our customer service staff, or pick up the phone and give us a call. Our next video, we're gonna cover some general maintenance tips on taking care of our raised garden bed. We'll talk about how to keep our plants growing in a nice upward manner. We'll talk about pinching off suckers, what those are, why we pinch them off. All that good stuff is gonna be coming up in the next video. So I hope you'll continue to follow along with us by clicking this button to subscribe to our channel. You can click this playlist to see all the videos in the gardening series, and also click this playlist to see the Do My Own Lawn Care video series. And as always, thanks for watching.